To do the slip stitch finish, what we're first going to do is we're going to take a raw edge that we're going to be sewing, and I'm going to press it in 1/2 inch. So use a ruler, but first what we're going to do is we're going to press it in 1/2 inch. And then we're going to press it in a full inch. So I've got my ruler here. Just going to make sure that I've got it at a full inch. I'm going to press it in there too. So I actually have this clean finish. It's just nice and folded, no frayed edges or anything. To sew the slip stitch, I've got a needle and thread. Notice I've only got it folded over a bit so that I will be leaving only a single strand behind in the fabric. We don't want 2 strands of fabric if we're using it for like a hem sort of situation, which this is, because we want it to be invisible from the right side of the fabric. And the thicker we have of thread, the more likely it will be visible on the right side, and we don't want that. So I've got a single line as well as a knot at the end. So I'm just going to start by coming in from the back of this fold and going between the 2 layers to get started. I will be moving from right to left with this stitch. So I'm going to be coming out of the fold, taking a quick snag of 1 or 2 threads from the garment, and then coming straight back and coming back into the same spot that I came out. And my needle is traveling along in between those layers of fabric right here for about 1/4 inch before I come back out again. Try to avoid getting little tiny knots. One of the ways that we can avoid getting knots is by having a shorter piece of thread. The longer the thread, the more likely it is that you'll tangle as you pull it through. So grab just a couple from the right side and then go right back in where I came out and travel 1/4 inch. Go right back in, snag a couple threads, and travel for about 1/4 inch. Snag a couple of threads, go back in where I came out. I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly where you came out. It could be a couple threads further on, but in the same area. I'm just going to keep doing that all the way across until here. So I'm going to finish that and then I will show you how to tie a knot. To tie a knot, once you get to your ending point, this could be at the hem of a skirt, so it could be, you could be approaching where you started stitching at this point. I've just come out from between the 2 layers of fabric. I'm going to take one final little bite of thread from the garment. I'm going to come and I'm just going to take a little tiny bite of thread off of the fold. And as it pulls through right before my loop disappears, I'm going to take the thread and I'm going to wrap it around 3 times onto the needle and pull through. And then as it pulls down, just make sure it doesn't start creating a really loopy knot. You can just help keep that all in. Keep it really tight, but pull it down until it just tightens up and it's tied a knot. So that has tied the knot. I'm not going to just clip my thread. I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to slide it down between the layers of fabric again and poke up someplace else. Make sure you don't accidentally pop out on the right side of the fabric. Let's poke up someplace else. Pull my thread, trim out in the middle, it'll disappear, and that is how you do a slip stitch. From the right side of the fabric, all you can see are maybe, because there's a whole bunch in here you can't see, but maybe teeny tiny dots of thread from your thread. If you're using matching thread, then obviously that's not going to be a big deal. No one's going to notice it. But something you will see is by doing a slip stitch for the hem, you are going to be seeing kind of a ridge. You might not be able to see it on camera. So that's why this isn't a fully blind stitch, but it's pretty darn invisible. So you can certainly use that to do a hem. There's lots of other times that you'll use it for finishing up zippers, lots of different places.